Right, welcome back, Math 7. Today's lesson basically involves how we can choose the best measure of central tendency. So, the page that you guys want to go is page 446, by the way, and chapter is 12.5, which is one of the last one. We are going to do several, maybe 2 to 3 class examples. Before we getting into best central measurement calculation method or any type of method, we need to understand that there's 1, 2, 3 different ways that we can calculate or identify the central tendency for your average. One is mean, one is median, one is mode. Now there are pros and cons about this. Some of those benefit or some of those disadvantage. Let's think about cons. Pro first. Mean is basically average calculation. So generally it's accurate. And it's one of those methods that is most widely used. It is used for almost every place that we go. And when people say, oh, let's calculate the average, people generally go with this. And also, we have a formula. Those are the 3 of the pros. Cons, what's my disadvantage of using mean? Basically, it is affected by, and it's majorly affected a lot by any outliers. If you have one of a small outliers, then the whole average will bring it down quite a bit. Or if you have very high outlier, large outlier, then at the same time average will suddenly spike it up. So because of these outlier, you may have a biased central tendency. It's possible. And you want to avoid that in mean calculation. Have that in your mind. Median has pros and cons too. What do you think its advantage? Let's talk about pro first. Pro is basically you need to understand that median is quite accurate for the middle value when it's ordered in an ascending order. So if it's randomly put it in, you need some extra step, but as long as you have an ascending order, the middle values are generally accurate. Con is basically different method for odd numbers set versus even number set. What I mean by that is if it's odd number, you can just choose it. If, for example, you have 5 different numbers in a set, you locate the smallest on the left, largest on the right, then the third one in the middle will be your median. Now, it is also possible that you have even number set, like say, let's you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data, then you don't actually have a middle number set. Like third and fourth is your middle, so you need to find the average value of those 2 middle values. So that can be cons. However, median does not affected by central tendency a lot as mean value. However, these two, one thing that I want to point out is you may need to worry about its range. And the reason being is because, again, outliers, if you have really small outliers and really large outlier, your range will change and that will affect dramatically for these two. Mode. Pros and cons. Pro, so benefit, is basically easy to use. And at the same time, good for data that is repeated. Many value, no. Good for experiment with more value. More repetitive value. That's better. Cons, on the other hand, is debatable, not accurate. Unless you have more than half, more than 1/3 of repetitive value. So what I mean by that is this. If you have repeating number that is just located at 1/4 of it or less than that, so imagine you're repeating just 2, that's not the one that is useful. Out of 5, but you have about 4 that is repeating, then yes, that makes sense. You should use that. Out of 10 sets of data, out of 10 values in a data, and imagine you have about 4 that is repeating, that's also acceptable. So here's the thing, some judgment is required. Based on these flowchart, let's actually do some example. Small example that I'm gonna do, you can find it on textbook page 447 actually. We have a random data. I'm gonna read the question first. Amir and Melanie's weekly quiz score was 4, 5, 8, 9, 9. So the data set was 4, 5, 8, 9, and 9. And we're going to decide what measure of tendency would be best. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data. It's already in ascending order, smallest to largest. So good idea to do median first because I know exactly the middle value because it's an odd number of set. So have that in your mind. Median value is 8. Mean value, add them all, 4, 5, 8, 9, 9 divided by 5. 12, 17, 17 plus 18 divided by 5, so that 23 over 5, and wait, 35. 35, sorry, my bad. 35 divided by 5 give you 7. So mean is 7. Mode is most repeated one, so it becomes 9. Now let's figure out which one is not suitable. And we're going to put some rationale in here. Mode is not the best method. There are a few reasons. One of the reasons is only repeated twice. That's not representing good amount of participants' data, if you will. And on others, 9 is highest value. It's not even middle value. So because of these two reasons, mode may not be acceptable. Now it is debatable to decide which one is the best one. I will personally accept both if my calculation and my statistic background reason explaining the whole thing, median can be a little better because of one reason. You have a possible outlier 4, but to be fair, 4 and 5 is close enough, so it's kind of hard to exclude. So 4, 5, 8, 9, 9, among those 8 may be good idea because I have 2 on the left, 2 on the right. It's a good enough a middle value too. However, if you think mean is the best idea, that is also correct. I can accept that. But when you explain, you should put that 4 and 9 ranges about 5. It's evenly distributed from 8. So you can add everything and divide it by 5. That work for the best for the average calculation. But one thing that I won't accept is when people say mode is the best one in this example. That's unacceptable. Let's do one more. It's in that example of show you know on A. That's the same page, page 447. What are the mean, median, and mode for the following data? Round your answer to the nearest tenth, and which tendency best describe the situation. So, I'm gonna copy everything. Like this. Let's arrange the numbers first. 11, 11, 11. 12, 13. 14. 16, 16. 53. So we arrange everything in that way. Now, let's do median first. Median is generally easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 data. So the one that is exactly in half is that fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right. So median value is 13. Mean calculation. It's a little tricky. You need to add every single thing. 11, 11, 11. Let's add them all together. That's 33. 12 plus 13, that's 25. 14, 16 and 16, that's 32. 53. Then we have total 9 data. So let's add everything up. Let's see. 33 and 32, that's 65. Actually, 25, let's leave it because it ends with 5. 14 and 53. 67. These two turn out to be 90. And I'm doing everything in mental math. You don't have to at that point. 157 divided by 9 is what we need to do. I decided to use calculator too. It's about 17.44444 repeating. That is my mean value. And mode, which one is repeated the most? If you look at it, 11 repeated 3 times and 16 repeated 2 times. So 11 is mode. Now let's figure out which method is the best one. Now here's the thing. If you look at the setup, there is a huge problem. The problem lies on our last value, 53. Because that value, it's really huge compared to any of those values. Even compared to middle value over here, 12 is 1 away, 14 is 1 away. 11, yeah, it's debatable, 2 away. 16, 3 away, but they are relatively close together. But 53 is abnormally off. Compared to any other values. So in that case, we can consider that as an outlier. And whenever there's an outlier, mean value is not a good idea. So mean that is equal to 17.4. This is not a good method because of the outlier 53. That 53 basically bring up the average abnormally. So mean may not be the best method. Mode, it's not the, that is equal to 11. This mode is also not a good idea for this situation because there are two reasons. Number one, 11 repeated twice. But, repeated 3 times. But when it comes to our second number 16, it repeated twice. These two are very similar. It's not distinctively overruling repeated number. So because of this reason, mode is out. Median at this situation probably the best because of number one, not affected by outlier. And number two, the central value is quite stable. Because of these reasons, median in this example probably is the best. Now, I'm going to put my homework question over here. Your homework is basically working on the textbook example. And the textbook example that you are going to work is on page 415 to 451. 4, 5, 8, 9. And one more, 10. It's basically what you need to do. And that is everything.